They don't call me the Spaghetti Queen because of my nice organized builds, they call me the Spaghetti Queen because of this crap that I make. It takes more complex production chains than vanilla can give me to satisfy my truly masterful messes. So in addition to Krastorio 2 spaced out, today I've sprinkled some extra smaller mods into this playthrough to add some complexity here and there and spice the run up. This does end up making my mods a little janky sometimes, but it's the thought that counts, and I'll tell you about each little one as we go along. It's what I get for making my own mod pack without bothering to do a pass of development for compatibility. As usual, I crash land conveniently close to a small lake, and then get right to work on the burner phase. I don't like the burner phase, so I've learned from the speedrunners how to get through it as fast as possible by just making a lot of burner miners. Have I been fooled into just more burner phase per run? Possibly. A few smelters go up nice and quick, though I have to select the recipes for which plate to smelt. Technically, this means that behind the scene, the furnaces in Krastorio 2 are all assembly machines. I scoop up most of the shipwreck and put Krastorio's starter machines to work. These are awful, and I quickly realize that something in my pack has caused them to be unnecessary since I can already tier skip straight to proper steam power, assemblers, and labs. I'll get right to work on that steam power since it's going to be significantly stronger than this default reactor or any wind turbines that I could build. I do end up using one of the little wind turbines since offshore pumps require electricity. This one will be on its own network, and this will help prevent any water-based blackout issues if my power grid struggles in the future, which, spoiler warning, it does quite a bit. I get rid of the rest of the crash landing and build some proper machines for my first temporary automations. Automation cores and blank tech cards are new intermediates that I'll need for crafting, and after making enough to get started in these assemblers, I'll go ahead and convert them into a slightly more proper red science setup. Krastorio replaces all science pack with tech cards and adds several new ones. The first, automation tech cards, are made with just automation cores and the blank tech cards. I've put a 5x science cost multiplier on this run, just enough to impact how I build without making it tediously long. Once I have some basic science running, I make light armor, a rifle, and a shotgun, then go to clear out some locals. I saw in the World Gen preview that the south was a dead end, so I'll want to claim it as soon as I can, as well as just take out a couple other nearby nests. I don't care much for dealing with biters, if you hadn't figured that out about me yet. Once I'm done there, I can properly automate coal mining with electric mining drills to supply my steam power, and then get to work on a little temporary chest mall to make some belts. I'll need these to finish the coal and build furnace stacks. I build a full 48 furnace stack for iron, forgetting that in Krastorio, the default smelting recipe is 2 ores for each plate, and I won't be able to supply half of these furnaces. That's okay though, since I don't care at all. I'll solve that problem later. Automated iron production means I can be done with my burner setup, and yes, you did read that correctly, my furnaces are outputting hot iron plates. This is from a little mod called Hot Metals that cleverly uses the spoilage mechanic to force me to wait until my plates cool off before I can use them. Since they don't start cooling until they've left the furnace, it means that direct insertion builds won't be possible for this entire run. I'll have to let everything cool off inside of a chest or on a belt. It honestly doesn't make the biggest difference right now, but it gets more and more impactful as my fastery gets stronger and my belts get faster. It also annoyingly doesn't apply to everything, but if I wanted it better, I would have made the mod myself. There's no Krastorio compatibility here. The iron can replace my hand-fed chests at my little mall, fully automating belts and keeping my formerly temporary assemblers in place. I'll also prep for copper. Then, the copper stack, also oversized, can go horizontally above what I've built so far. Coal is right here, easy to grab, and the copper mines are just a little ways north. Hot copper plates start flowing. Now that both copper and iron are automated, my mall can grow. I make inserter parts out of gears and sticks. These will be necessary for all inserters. I make my beloved blueprint shotgun, and I make automation cores. Then it's underground belts using iron beams, a new intermediate, yellow inserters, and mining drills. Wood can be automated in Krastorio, and I'll need it for a couple of things, so I mine some stone, crush it into sand in this new large crusher building, and smelt the sand into glass. With that, I can make greenhouses to automate tree farming in a new production loop. They're much weaker than agricultural towers, instead being these big glass domes that slowly produce in a mysterious manner. To use them, I craft wood into tree seeds, then cycle the seeds back into the greenhouses for a net positive wood loop. I run the wood belt past the iron furnaces to smelt into coke, needed for steel, using wood and coal. The whole production tree for steel ends up looking something like this, as long as you count glass as a prerequisite, because you need it for wood, because you need it for coke. Furnaces for steel can go just above the coke, and they have to be separate from iron, remember, since I need cool plates to input into the furnaces. Logistic tech cards are made from iron gears, green circuits, and blank tech cards. Simpler tech cards seem to be a theme for Krastorio, at least for the vanilla replacements. While I'm working on them, I discover a dumb way to get infinite tungsten for free on any planet using these craftable decoration rocks. It isn't very practical since you can't do anything with the tungsten, but it's there. The simple intermediates go up quickly, and I combine them with the already existing labs. This isn't enough production for 5 times science cost, and I don't think about that at all for a little while, but at least I can start to research trains. And you should all know by now how I feel about trains. I'll quickly expand my steam power, which doesn't seem to have gone as far as it would have in vanilla, and build a couple more labs. While I wait for the research, I can make some pretty sizable upgrades to my mall. I'll bring down a belt for glass, snaking it through the furnaces, and get to work on assembly machine 1s, lamps, and splitters. The assemblers needed iron beams, lamps needed glass, and splitters automation cores. Then it's back to some more biter clearing. Destroyed nests leave behind biomass, which is used for military research. I'll collect it now and store it in my shelter since I don't get around to making military research for a long time, then come home and expand the labs yet again, finally remembering my science multiplier. To build defenses, I expand stone mining, then make a stone brick furnace stack above glass, creating a new stone processing area. I can use them to automate walls in this here storage box. Turrets need beams, gears, and automation cores and can go in my mall. Fast inserters needed green circuits and get automated nearby, and this little corner gets filled out with pipe automation. I need to expand power again, since the steam engines really aren't keeping up. I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of second power source sooner than later, thanks to Krastorio's electricity rebalancing. I wonder what it's gonna look like on all the other planets. Down south, I built a second area for science production, both red and green tech cards. There's no space left to expand my original build, but the science multiplier means I need to be researching faster. They take all the same ingredients and get to go into their own labs to be researched. Whoever said that my labs have to be in the same spot? Assembly Machine 2s should also help on my quest for speed. I'll make them in the mall and then upgrade the rest of the factory with them. With science finally moving fast enough, train research completes and I get to work on engine units, which are just made of plates, pipes, and gears. Everything feels so simple after my last playthrough where everything required like 10 ingredients. Then it's another mall section for train supplies. I've been rushing my malls this run. I just want to be able to start making trains before producing anything at a reasonable scale. I make locomotives, wagons, rails, both types of signals, pumps, fluid tanks, and fluid wagons using the engine units, some steel beams, and other various little components. While they build, I run up north and build a wall to protect my southern peninsula. I have a habit of wasting time overbuilding on my defenses, and this run is certainly no exception, as you'll see shortly. I really should take it as a learning opportunity and just start waiting for the bugs to come to me next time. Playing more reactively lets you not waste your time on overbuilding things that you don't need. This is my own lessons I'm not following. Coming back home, I build a new iron furnace stack of the proper 24 size to boost production, and then immediately tear it down to replace it with a train. In my defense, I think like 4 real-life days passed between putting it up and tearing it down, so I had kind of forgotten what I was doing. I put off actually building those abstracted furnaces, and instead combined my 2 lab areas into one with a combo red-green tech card train. A lot of people have commented on some of my shorter train videos that bad things can happen when your trains get turned around, so I'm here to show you that it's no problem at all. Both wagons hold both types of cards, and the train intentionally turns itself around each time it goes through its schedule. It's a simple enough job to just sort the packs back out with some filtered inserters at the new lab area, which I build to the east where I have a bunch of extra space to expand it in the future. Getting back to iron, I build a short rail loop for one-way trains, the exact opposite of what I just did for science, and make hefty use of loaders for throughput to my 4 new furnace stacks. I do have to automate production of the loaders, but that's probably for the best. The trains, yes, trains, on this loop will carry ore and plates in 2 wagons and coal in the 3rd wagon to power the furnaces. One wagon sharing 2 ingredients in a flow-through style like this reduces the number of wagons I have to have transporting goods and is super easy to accomplish with filtered loaders. Now I can tear out the old starter furnaces so the mall has a little bit more room to grow like a mold. And then I have to do another steam power expansion. Of course, I really need a better solution. Thanks to Krastorio, any possible solution is going to be after oil. I build a train that will fetch back crude oil right in the middle of my base, and then run out the rails to set up a small pumping outpost. There's hardly any oil here, so I'll just have to hope that it lasts. With oil brought back, I set up basic refining into petroleum gas and start storing it. Then I go to my reclaimed mall space to automate chemical plants. First, I set up some solid fuel production. I don't have very much coal in my territory, and I need it for steel and plastic, so best to preserve as much as I can. Smelting can move to the infinite solid fuel instead, since I don't have any fancy tech to make my patches infinite yet. With that done, I can pump petroleum gas straight into these gas power stations, which, while unbearably loud, help solve my power problems with an alternate source of generation. All this, and I still haven't been thinking about my 5 times science cost. With power expanded, production can follow. I add more labs to the research block, then go to the Southern Science Manufacturing, and expand both red and green tech cards. This 5 times multiplier is doing exactly what I hoped, which is forcing me to build larger without being significant enough that I'm planning huge builds. I did a 50 times cost run once, and everything turned out way too organized since I was planning for that super high cost from the very beginning. Red circuits have a new intermediate requirement, electronic components. Instead of just plastic, I need glass, silicone, and plastic all combined together into the little useful bits and bobs. I'll crush more stone into sand, then sift that sand into quartz using these filtration plants, another new building. These modded buildings are big, and to be honest, I kinda like when mods make the machines big. It creates a slightly different feel in my factory designs, where the belts feel smaller, like accessories to the machines, instead of the whole thing being dominating rows of belts around little assemblers. Using a new furnace stack, the quartz is smelted into silicone. I don't need many, so they go up quick. Gas power has been eating almost all of my petroleum, so if I want any for production, I have to expand oil refining. While I'm at it, I also add a few more gas power plants, since power is still in much higher demand in Krastorio. This new petroleum can be used to make sulfur and sulfuric acid next to the silicone furnaces. 4 machines of each is more than enough, and the belts balance nicely with Krastorio's inserters being able to drop on either the close or near side of the belt. Plastic can go next to those 2, with 4 machines as well. I just have to go track down my coal belt from wherever it's been hanging out up north. Now I can make the electronic components, which is a simple enough build since it's just 3 item ingredients, all of which are already nearby. I'm already making green circuits down by the lower science area, so I expand that production past the rails with a much larger build. These circuits can feed right into the red circuit production, which after bringing the electronic components down this way, goes up quick with an almost identical direct insertion build for the wire. Yes, I know I don't need to build 1-to-1 for either color circuit, but it's easy enough to do and I like how it looks. You can go build your factory however you want. I'm gonna build mine like this. Below the red chips, I can build chemical tech cards using glass, red circuits, sulfuric acid, and of course, blank tech cards. The blank cards are easy enough to make with just iron and copper, which I already had for circuits. And everything else was prepared in advance, so it's just a matter of routing the belts and pipes to get everything in and out of the build. I'll stamp down a new train station with a single wagon to carry the blue tech cards up to the labs. Why not use the train that's right there, already carrying multiple tech cards? I felt like it. It's at this point that I realized that my initial defensive wall doesn't include any rare metals or mineral water, 2 of the 3 new novice resources added by Krastorio 2. The third resource is Immersite, used to make some endgame machines, and I've disabled it from spawning on novice for this playthrough. You'll see what I mean in a future video. I automate the nicer ammos and build a wall supply train with a wagon for bullets, and a wagon for future flamethrower fuel. Look at me planning ahead, you don't see that every day. This train will go up to my current wall, but I think I'm going to claim more territory before I automate the defenses. Some classic turret creep is the perfect way to declare war on these annoying bugs. I take out several nests, claiming mineral water, uranium, more oil, and stone. Then I go right on to building new defensive walls. My pollution cloud is nowhere near these walls, and remember when I said I needed to learn from for the last one? Yeah, it bites me right away. This northern wall is basically pointless. Whatever, I'll deal with it later. For now, I expand glass smelting to support blue tech cards. It's a shame I don't have hot glass to match my hot plates. These blue card researches are slower, so once again I build some more labs. With everything right here already, I'll squeeze a battery build between blue tech cards and these rails. I'm not sure what they're for yet, but I know I'd enjoy having bots someday. And once they're done, I quickly go clear out that little northern tip of land. Stupid useless wall. So I don't bite my own butt again, I'll also check out what's to the west, only to discover that I've been on an island this entire time. That was 3 walls I spent time building, none of which ever got attacked even once. I'll take out every nest that could reach me and claim the island for myself. Let's call it Greater Britain. I tear down one of the useless time-wasting walls and extend the defensive train rail out to the only rare metals patch in Greater Britain. I'll need this stuff for blue circuits and advanced manufacturing, so I build a funky-shaped mine on top of it while I'm already here. Similar to uranium, it takes a mining fluid, so the train gets a fluid wagon. Different from uranium, it's chlorine that's needed, so I'm gonna have to find the time to make that back at the base. I'll come home to take down the defensive train, and reuse the station that was already configured for pumping fluids. Next, I'll automate large power poles and substations, then accumulators and solar panels. Solar panels taking glass, silicone, steel, green circuits, and iron beams. My gas power isn't going to last much longer, especially with needing chlorine, so it's best to get ahead of it this time with a shiny new solar field. I come up with this rotatable, tileable solar design without bothering to count the ratios or anything, then I build a little bit too close to my base, probably close enough that it's going to get in the way later. To get the chlorine I need for rare metal mining, I need another new building, the electrolysis plant. It uses quite a bit of power, but can zap away at water and sand, creating hydrogen and chlorine. I'll save both in tanks, sending the chlorine across to the rare metal train, but setting up an overflow circuit to hydrogen so it can be burnt off in these flare stacks if too much of it builds up. I don't have a use for it yet. Nothing else to do. With this, the rare metal mine can come to life. Somehow, I'm not making enough wood of all things. I've got plenty of space to just add a couple more greenhouses, but I'm going to abstract it anyways. My long-term plan for this novice base is to abstract everything as I get the space-age machines back to the ground, leaving a weird central logistics husk in my current factory's place. Since there's no greenhouse replacement, I'll tear out the old wood build and build a new one a little ways away against the coast, since I still need water for the greenhouses. I'll keep the tree seed production here for some reason. It would have been way easier to move it with the greenhouses, but whatever, I like the unnecessary complexity. The new greenhouse build ends up with 6 times as much production, hopefully enough for all the steel and circuits I will ever need. The loading is a bit annoying, however, and with more and more trains in my factory, I build bulk inserters to upgrade all of my stations with. They help the wood build get up to speed a lot, and will help every other train station as well. Next, another new train. Starting at the top of my base, this one will carry stone bricks down and around the starter lake to the bottom. I'll share one section of a rail with the wood train and make a cheeky little drop-off station tucked into this curve here. With stone bricks down next to iron ore, I can easily make concrete. I want it both for paving my very real, definitely not a starter base, and also for some manufacturing. I'll make steel furnaces down by the rare metals train, and I'll use them right there to make a rare metals smelting stack. 12 should be enough for a full input belt of ore. I don't have anything to do with the metals yet, but at least it's done. I go with a vibe-based job ordering in these factories. Next to that, another train to bring in stone. Between glass, silicone, chlorine, and now stone brick demands, the belts are starting to look a little thin. But these big patches up north exist, so it's an easy job to slap down some drills and bring back more stone than I know what to do with. I'll make sure that the mine's output is used up first to clear the space for my future abstraction zone. While I was working on that, the advanced lab research completes. I get right to work building this new mid-game lab, since in addition to higher research speed, it also gives a 20% bonus to science pack drain amount. It's pretty cool to see the space age upgrades being applied to the Krastorio stuff. It makes everything feel super in line and cohesive. Advanced oil processing is something that I'll probably need at some point, and I'm able to build now. I build it just below the labs, fully sealing in those 2 railways. I also set up both sets of cracking, gated by pumps that make sure I don't crack too much of either liquid oil product. It's a super simple way to make the circuits work for you. With the improved production rates, my gas power plants should stop going on and off all the time and should be able to run with no interruptions. Purple tech cards and nuclear power both need uranium. I want these, so time to get uranium. This train will drop it off and carry sulfuric acid out. thanks to 2.1, I can fill this wonky curvy fluid wagon with no problem. I'll go to the smaller patch in the south for, no particular reason actually, with a big fly-around railway and then slap down the miners. Krastorio adds radiation damage that hurts me if I get too close to the uranium ore or hold any radioactive items in my inventory. It makes building the mine kind of annoying, but not that bad. Back at the base, I'll automate centrifuges down at this little southern mall area and unload uranium to a funky-shaped processing plant. Unlike vanilla, processing uranium ore results in waste stone and iron ore that need to be dealt with. It's not a lot of either, so I'm not really worried about deadlocks or anything, but it's still a great way to add some logistical complexity. I just stockpiled both sets of uranium for now. We'll come back to them. The railway I built can be borrowed to move rare metals from the top of the base to the bottom, similar to stone bricks. Since I already have concrete and red circuits down there, it'll be one of the last mall ingredients for the southern mall. With them, I can automate Mine and Drill Mark IIs, a Krastorio edition that again gives me some of the benefit of the off-world machines. They have a slightly larger mining area, faster speed, but most importantly a 75% base resource drain amount, similar to the 50% of the Vulcanus big mining drills. Being on an island, I want these on every ore patch as soon as possible, and I get right to work upgrading the most important ones first. Next, rare metal can go towards creating the parts I need for a nuclear fission reactor. This should finally solve my power problems, since the reactor has been rebalanced. Even the smallest possible setup makes over 5 times as much power as a single vanilla fission reactor. Heat pipes, now requiring quartz, go up by my electronic components factory and get belted down to the southern mall where everything else can get made. I'll throw together reactors, heat exchangers, turbines, and all the little intermediates I need to get them all built. The copper demand for these parts is so high that my base is struggling to make them. To solve it, I build a new copper mine and furnace stack to feed directly into the nuclear component factories, and it'll also go backwards up the line into the circuits. There was an ore patch down on this end of things anyways that made this all a very convenient solution, and once it's plugged in, the parts for the reactor is made up in no time at all. Designing your own reactor is easy if you know how to do the math. Yes, it goes from fuel cell to heat to steam to electricity, but since energy conversions are lossless in Factorio, all you have to look at is that number of megawatts. In Krastorio, a single fission reactor produces 250 megawatts. Each heat converter can convert 50 megawatts, so I need 5, and each steam turbine can produce 10 megawatts of electricity, so I need 25. I just need to put those number of buildings down, and then hook them all up with steam and heat pipes, and it's a done deal. 1 nuclear fission reactor, and 0 power problems since it's producing 250 megawatts. It's time for bots, since I can finally power the roboboards. I'll add them to the research queue. While they research, I build a new iron mine down south next to the uranium patch. My belts have been looking a little thin, and if I want to upgrade the belt speed like I'm planning, I'll need the extra production. A new train brings the ore back, and it gets filtered into the smelting abstraction's input buffers. In the southern mall area, I make a new build of engines that feed directly into making electric engines. They require lube, which I haven't made yet, but it's trivial. I just slap down some chemical plants up by my oil cracking and then pipe it over. Bots also get their own dedicated circuit build, feeding the electric engines using the wood recipe green circuits. These will be nice to have around. I didn't have much spare production before now, so there's not really any other circuits flying around. Flying robot frames can be made right in line with everything else. I route in the engines, steel plates from above, bring down electronic components from the science area, and I set up assemblers for both logistics and construction bots. I'll just buffer them in chests for now. All I have to bring down here to build the logistics chests is red circuits, which are already right above where I'm working from the fission reactor mall. I can only make storage and passive providers right now, but really that's all I need. Roboports are almost as easy, with basically everything having been already routed. I just need to make some steel beams. I placed the very first one next to the bot buffer chests to set up my usual circuit robot insertion trick. The inventory on these roboports has been nerfed by Krastorio, but it should still do the trick, since new bots should only be inserted when my other ones are already in flight. There will always be space. Now that I have bots to make upgrading easy and a new source of iron, I dive into the mass production of red belts. They don't take much to get going, mostly just a metric buttload of gears. I rebuild yellow belt production too, so I don't have to bother with routing them out of my first mall. I don't want to do all that. I spend some time placing roboports and passive provider chests all across my base, and then set up my personal logistics requests. Always remember to use groups for these. It makes it easy to request specific things with a single click on and off. Extra useful when you're traveling between planets. Productivity Module 1s only take green circuits and electronic components. Combining them with the red belts I just made and some uranium-235 results in production tech cards. I've sneakily made these very easy for myself. Almost everything is down here next to the electric engines and bots. They need to be manufactured in research servers, a new production building. Once I have those stamped down, I just need to bring the uranium-235 over by train. I build a rail that flies all the way around my solar field up to the nuclear reactor, and then I load it up and bring it back to drop off. I don't need a ton of the stuff, so I'm not that worried about the throughput. After that, I go back to my crude oil, which has been running low for a little while. I've only increased demand with electronic components and lube production. And now I don't have enough electronic components left to be able to make those research servers. I'll claim a new oil field, then bring it back to the original field where, thanks to the 2.1 features, I can pump directly from one train to another, supplementing my supply. It still isn't enough to satisfy my electronic parts demand, so it's time to expand those. I build a new pile of assemblers for them, then borrow my old glass, silicone, and plastic supplies. I don't think they're going to be enough on their own, but the belts are backed up, which means I wasn't making as much as I could. It'll probably work for now. Production is high enough that the research servers get made, so I go to finish up production tech cards by making blank tech cards. As usual so far, I'll make them their own science supply train, sharing that fly-around rail I made for bringing the uranium down, and drop the purple tech cards off below the labs next to all of the other science trains. Check out this cheeky on-site solid fuel production. Well, I was right, and the electronic components don't have enough silicon. Luckily, I already have all the stone I could ask for. A quick red belt upgrade moves enough stone to supply 4 new crushers, 6 new filtration plants, and a quaint little silicone smelting stack. The resulting silicone can supplement the belts that the old build couldn't keep full, and electronic component production finally kicks into high gear. I take the opportunity to expand my southern mall with electric furnaces, Tier 1 speed modules, and Tier 1 efficiency modules. I just know that I'm going to need more steel and copper to make anything happen in space at a reasonable speed. In my first Space Age playthrough, I had one little measly silo that was barely able to launch fast enough to produce any platforms at all. I'm not going to repeat the mistake since I don't want to spend hours waiting around for platforms to be built, so I'll be making a whole new build to produce rockets and platform supplies. Remember that terrible 2-to-1 ore-to-plate ratio I've been working with? By using chemical plants to wash the ore into purified ore with some water and sulfuric acid, I can get a much better ratio. I just have to deal with the wastewater byproduct using a few filtration plants, splitting back water, stone, and a little bit of extra ore. It's not much of each, but they all have to be dealt with so the smelting doesn't back up. I'll build 2 electric furnace stacks with a buffer between them to make steel. The buffer is to prevent any hot plates from clogging up the input belts. I'll also make some new coke furnaces on site, just by bringing the wood and coal up on a shared belt. The glory of robots lets me copy-paste the entire purification setup to make one for copper, complete with its own filtration and furnace stack. I don't have a copper patch here, so we'll have to bring it in by train. I make my new mine down on the giant 12 million ore patch on the northern tip of my island. Now I have fresh supplies of iron, copper, and steel ready to go into manufacturing. I'll do it in reverse order by starting with blue circuits. They require red circuits, rare metals, and sulfuric acid. I slap the build down wherever it fits, connect up all the belts and pipes, and then I can move on. Red circuits fit over here to the left, copying my previous build's design, and I actually make sure to get all the ratios right here. I import the electronic components and rare metals for these two. I should be making plenty of both, and they aren't too far away. Green circuits can just barely squeeze into the middle, provided that I belt the copper wire around. I have to refresh the belt with some inline assemblers to chop up on the wire, but they get up and running with my new metal supplies, and now I have blue circuits complete. Low density structure needs plastic, and I'll just make a dedicated build for that as well. 8 chemical plants is probably enough, and I already have coal since I needed it for coke. Unfortunately, green circuits are eating all of the copper I've already made, so I go ahead and double up on copper production with a new purification line and a new smelting stack. This one will be entirely dedicated to low density structure. Then I make a sizable build and route in the steel and plastic. The hard part of LDS really is just the steep material requirements. Setting yourself up with a good foundation by making some new furnace stacks makes them much less of a hurdle to overcome. Rocket fuel will require light oil, iron, and oxygen gathered using these atmospheric condensers. There are flow-through pipes on every side, which is nice. The fuel itself is then produced in fuel plants, another new building, and all I have to do is connect a pipe for light oil and a belt for iron plates, which they barely need any of. I'll clear out this area to the right of this big new production facility to dedicate to being my spaceport. I handcraft one silo and one landing pad, plop them down, and watch as my very first rocket rises up out of its silo. I'd like to give a huge thank you to everybody who's been following my little channel so far. These videos have been a blast to make, and I can't wait to make part 2 of this run where I take you along for the ride into space. If you like what I do enough, please consider getting down on your knees for our holy algorithm or joining as a channel member. Each one of you that supports what I do directly lets me have more time to work on videos each month so I can get them out sooner or do more cooler things in each one. I'll see you all in probably another couple weeks when we make part 2 and make our first space platforms. Bye-bye!